Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you are enjoying the DLC, I most certainly have. And today I will be showing you how OP the Deprived class can be and why to me it's the best of any other Souls game. Before we begin though, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it would be amazing if you could help me reach that goal. And with that out of the way, let's get naked and bonk some heads. After creating the peak of human evolution, I was ready to take on the gods themselves. After obviously no-hitting the first enemy encounter, I actually went on and fought the real final boss of the game. I had some initial trouble learning all his complicated moveset, but with a couple of good old backstabs, Rick, Soldier of God, the biggest threat of the game, was eliminated for good.
Oh, look at that, no hit.
Once I arrived in the actual open world, it was time to get to work. I killed the first cave boss for the Flame Drake talisman in case I would need some extra fire defenses, and Melina then came to speak to me, which is weird cause girls never come and speak to me. Must be my new looks. She gave me Torrent, I picked up the Determination Ash of War, and then I trotted to the Third Church of Marika. I then picked up the left side of the Dectus Medallion, touched the giant butthole, got shot out in Grail's Dragon Barrow where I successfully convinced the Knight Cavalry to jump off a bridge. I picked up some more runes in the graveyard located just above, and reached 30 strength and 13 vigor. Melina came to visit once more and convinced me to go back to her place. But there were a lot of people there, so I do think she only wants to be friends. I applied the standard version of Determination onto my club, traveled to Fort Fareth and got the right side of the Dectus Medallion, and decided to ignore Radagon's icon because of the penalty it gives to your overall defenses, which made it not worth the effort. I traveled to Liurnia of the Lakes and killed the Crystallion for the Mining Bell Bearing number 1, then I trotted with my trusty steed to Altus Plateau, picked up the second Mining Bell Bearing, arrived at Altus Tunnel to pick up some Smithing Stone 5s, killed the boss and upgraded my club to plus 13. For good measure, I also went back to Limgrave to kill this particular knight riding a very normal horse which somehow has more poise than my magical steed, and I got my hands on the Golden Vow Ash of War. In Celia Crystal Tunnel, I picked up some more Smithing Stone 5s, then I returned to the Round Table Hold to buy a dagger, which I then applied the Golden Vow Ash of War onto. Now that I was finished with the boring and mandatory prep, it was time to begin fighting some actual bosses, starting with Margit. By the way, look at that piece of ass. Already, I can show you why this weapon is so good. Paired with the Determination Ash of War, it deals an insane amount of damage, both to the boss's health and to its posture, staggering the poor thing in just a few hits and dashing out even more damage on the riposte. Poor Margit was already down to his knees before even reaching second phase, but he wasn't going to give me some head. Could be the club, or it could be the pure fear of going against a guy that looks like this. Before facing Godric, I took a little detour to pick up the Claw Talisman to increase the damage from my jump attacks. Then I remembered that I forgot to kill the demi-human Queen Gallica, aka Rabbit Dog in Tight Room, and after giving a good look at her dental hygiene, I obtained the Ritual Sword Talisman. Now I was ready to face Short Dick Godric. Just like with Margit, 3 hits were enough to send his ass into phase 2. Godric screamed, the dragon roared, and 4 more hits was all that it was needed to end this pathetic boss. Before going on with the rest of the story bosses though, I had a good field trip killing some field bosses in the open world. Hogwarts was my next destination, where I had the opportunity to show off my immense power. Seriously, this is the first weapon available with the supposedly worst class and we are dominating. Best class, I'm ready to fight you on that. Also, the fashion is just superb. Mwah, chef's kiss. Big Feet Renala was the next big boss, but my health was still pretty low, so I decided to get a bit stronger. So I returned to the open world to pick up some Smithing Stone 5s I missed, killing some bosses in the process. Then I picked up the Favors cookbook for later, got my hands on some pots, killed the scarab that drops the Blood Flame incantation back in Liurnia, and I killed the Crucible Knight in the Evergill in Limgrave for a quick buck. I leveled up my faith by 1 point, enough for me to apply Blood Flame to the club, which I used to bleed the huge mama dragon in Caelid, and get some big stacks of runes to level up my strength some more. I picked up all the Trina's lilies I could find near the secret village of the Albinarics, freed our cute little friend Buck for 10 mushrooms, picked up some more Smithing Stone 6s thanks to the help of this Iron Lady, which is ironically the only type of lady I wouldn't want to be inside of, picked up some more 6s in Altus Plateau, got 3 more in Mount Gelmir, as well as another 2 in Volcano Manor. Raised the bridge in Volcano Manor that for some reason has a cinematic to show it off, and at this point I was definitely strong enough to face Renala. And I was. My jump attacks were more than enough to defeat her, and not even her bullshit dragon summon could do anything to prevent that from happening. Draconic Tree Sentinel unexpectedly went down on my first try, and I was able to enter the capital, where I killed another tree avatar, obtaining some fat runes in the process, which combined with the Draconic Tree Sentinel's runes, I was able to raise the stock market price and reach 33 vigor. Then I pissed all over Golden Shower Godfrey. I went back to Limgrave for the Axe Talisman, another important item I kind of forgot the existence of, and just for fun, I wanted to see how bad Morgoth was going to be, and it was clear that my build was not up there just yet. So I went back to Volcano Manor to have a chat with the Godskin Noble, which I killed with some minor issues towards the end of the fight because I ran out of sleep pots. The damage with Determination though was still holding up, but it was clear I was going to need an upgrade soon. And killing the Noble granted us the opportunity to pick that upgrade up in the form of the Night Resolve Ash of War, which increases the damage of your next attack by a whopping 80%. Killing the Putrid Avatar in Grail's Barracks gave me the Spike Crack tier for some extra staggering potential. And it was time to say good night to good old Radahn. After killing Radahn, I had to go to the Shunning Grounds, my favorite place, if you cannot tell from my tone, to pick up some Smithing Stone 7s as well as Mohg's Shackle, which will be useful later on. I picked up one more Smithing Stone 6 in the capital and upgraded the club to plus 20. Alright, next up is Best Feat Morgoth. With the Ash of War alone, I was able to get about 1400 in damage, and getting to second phase was no problem. During the phase transition, I was able to successfully land 2 jump attacks and a heavy attack, which staggered the boss, but I ran out of blueberry juice at this point, which extended the length of the fight by a few seconds before I ended him with a heavy attack. Since this was the character I was going to use for my first playthrough of the DLC, I wanted to have as many options as possible in terms of weapons. So I went to Nokron to start progressing Ranni's quest. But I only killed the Mimic tier boss for now, because before continuing the quest, I went on to kill the Falling Star Beast and kill it for some much needed Smithing Stone 7s, which I also found a couple of them on this hill near Fort Ferreth. I then traveled to the mountaintops of the Giants, got one of the Ashes of War duplicator laying around the long bridge with Legolas at the end, and since I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, I only at this point figured out I could have been using the Blue Dancer Charm this whole damn time, which functions almost the same as the Flynn's Ring from Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, even though Flynn's Ring in Dark Souls 2 is the GOAT! As you can see, I melted the boss like ice on a hot summer day and obtained my prize. And it was time to fight the worst boss in the base game besides Gideon. Nothing much to say in first phase, honestly. The staggering potential of the club is really good for this fight. Also, the damage was pretty good. Could have been better with the use of buffs, but I thought it wasn't exactly in the spirit of the run to just cheese my way through fights. For some reason in second phase, it was hard for me to get the riposte on the eye after staggering the giant hippie. Anyways, after passing the last minute of the fight, chewing on the giant's ankle, Giant Grandpa fell and I was free to move on to the end game. But before dealing with that bullshit, I progressed through Var's quest obtaining the keys to Mogwyn Palace. Weird, you give them the finger and they allow you into their house. Mohg though was still out of my league for now. So I told Melina to set herself on fire and to burn the tree with her because I am sick and tired of the Just Stop Oil movement and I just want to see the world burn. I got my hands on the Upling Bubble Shield for some extra defenses before killing poor Loretta in just a few hits. Come on Elden Ring, are you even trying at this point? I spoke to a new AI sex doll called Ronnie, talked to a bunch of weebs simping for said sex doll, and I obtained the Finger Slayer blade back in Nokron. Then, I also obtained some weird item that would allow me to flip an entire castle upside down and got the curse mark of death. Jesus, these names just give out full-on optimistic vibes, am I right? I was at a good stage of Ronnie's quest at this point, so I returned to the Roundtable Hold and applied Bleed Affinity to my club and decided to go and see how the Godskin duo would drive my face into the mud. But thanks to the sleep pots, bleed, and the really good posture damage I was able to dash out with my trusty club, the fight didn't turn out to be that bad. The strategy here is quite simple. After sleeping them both, target the skinny dude. Charge 3 heavy attacks to stagger, bleed on the repose to finish him off. Do the same with the body's positivity model, but take note that you might have to sleep him again just like I did. Problems started to occur at the final stages of the fight when I once again ran out of sleep pots and almost died. But with some luck, I made it through, and now the real endgame could finally start. Once the dynamic duo fell under my immense power, I upgraded the club to plus 24, killed the ancient dragon for the plus 25 smithing stone, and fully upgraded my club. Then I went down at the pound to adopt a cute puppy, and apparently he doesn't really like to be pet. And as per usual, I had my share of problems with Malekith. Jump attacks were my best friend during this fight, and I love his second phase, and for some reason its first phase just gave me the most problems if we consider issues dying like 5 or 6 times. The damage though was carrying me through the battle, so it all was a minor inconvenience. I couldn't find a consistent line of attacks to punish stagger and bleed. I just dodged his moveset the best I could and charged up attacks whenever I had the opportunity. With some minor hiccups, Malekith the Black Blade was brought to a farm where he lived happily ever after, or that is what I'm going to say to my kids one day when I'm going to tell them this story. Next up was Gideon the All-Knowing, and after I effed up and died during his little cute monologue, he proceeded to rail me like a white chick in a room with 5 black guys. Until I realized I could just spam the R1 attack of the club to infinitely stun him until he died. Worst boss in history of Souls games if you ask me. Unlike Godfrey over here, which is my favorite boss from the base game, definitely one of the most solid boss designs you can find in a game. As usually, he stomped and stomped again. I punished with jump attacks and charged heavies whenever he would give me the chance to do so. With enough jump attacks, he staggered, allowing me to hit a fully buffed heavy charge attack. He then nuked the entire place because he was mad he was losing against me, but I was too skilled and completely dodged it. Then he screamed like a big baby, only to then cause a shockwave the size of the entire arena. What a cheater. When I finally brought him down to his knees, Godfrey understood that the reason why he was losing was because he was fighting like a casual. So he stripped naked just like me. Maybe killing his cat was a bit much, but I appreciated the effort. He's rather fast in this phase, but he has long punishable windows after certain attacks for us to beat him up. I still got kicked in the face like an idiot a few times, but I know this fight fairly well, and as I already said, I enjoy it a lot. I was able to cook him with a final charged heavy attack, obtaining a stagger to deal the final blow. I then quickly ran in the open world for the Purifying Crystal Tear, which is obtained by killing Eleonora in the Second Church of America back in Altos Plateau. Then I continued through Ronnie's questline all the way to Noxtella, fought another dweeb that turned his back on his waifu, which is something I didn't think it was possible. Then I took a nice dip into the Lake of Rot. I used my Chadness to teach Estelle a few things about the grind and the desire of grinding. By hitting him on his head, I dealt a huge amount of damage and destroyed his puny health bar in just a few hits. Then I remembered to pick up my wedding ring, so I did just that. And I then went from Chad to Simp in just a few minutes after spending more than 30 seconds with the sex doll. And yes, I am going to just call it the Moonlight Greatsword because that's its name. Time for the final boss, and with final boss, I intend Radagon and Elden Beast, which honestly weren't hard at all, business as usual. And if you don't believe me how strong this build can be, check out the damage a simple club was dealing to the final boss of the game. By the way, I'm so glad they added Torrent to the Elden Beast fight. It makes so much more sense this way. Unfortunately, this is the character I used for my first playthrough of the DLC, so I recorded it before the release and I had to fight him normally. I know this fight so well, I know every move, and even Elden Star is just an annoying gimmick at this point. The damage was decent and my nudity allowed me to move quickly and dodge on the fly. I was the definition of fly like a butterfly and sting like a bee, and I finally beat the game naked with a stick. After that, I killed the remaining Remembrance bosses like Rykard, and yes, I used the Serpent Hunter. He's an optional gimmick boss, so get off my back. I then threw a party with other people that just like me were waiting for the DLC to be released, and we all together had a gank bang with Malenia. Not gonna lie, I got carried hard. And it is finally time to fight the man of the hour himself. The key to everything. The carrier of our destiny. Or should I say dynasty. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Part 2 of this journey is on its way, as well as more content regarding Shadow of the Erdtree. So subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the DLC. And now, what did I actually learn from this run? Is Deprived the best class to go as in Elden Ring? Yes, and the answer to that is because I made you watch my butt for about 20 minutes, and that is the best feeling in the world. Jokes aside guys, thank you all for watching the video. These past few months have been crazy for the channel and I can't thank you guys enough. This is all because of you. I have a fun video coming out next week and I can't wait to show you what I've been working on. Thanks again for watching and I will see you next time.